Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Southern Outdoorsman Podcast. A little double header action we got going on here. This is the second one we've recorded in a row. So we're excited about this one. This is the gang's back together this week, dude. I'm excited, man. It's been a minute. If you're a longtime listener, you remember this little feller that we call the Dilla. He's here in studio with us after a little hiatus. Michael Pike, how are you doing, dude?
I'm good.
Doing good?
Doing real good.
Well, see, Pike's been on the podcast, but it was in deer camp back in October, I think.
Yeah, because y'all keep moving further and further south.
Yeah.
You keep moving further north.
Well, that is true.
Quit.
Everybody freeze.
That's right, dude. Yeah, so, man, what year was it where you were, like, basically guest hosting with us? Do you remember?
2019, I think.
No, it was after I got married because it was always in the Chelsea house.
2020.
When I lived in Chelsea. So it had to be 2020 or 2021, right?
Yeah,
probably both.
Both, yeah, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, freaking.
We went at it for a while.
Yeah.
Even once you bought your new house, like I was still driving down for those.
Yeah,
but
not the newest one.
Okay,
well,
yeah.
Their first house when it was in Chelsea.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, and we used to you were not only like a guest host for all the regular episodes you'd interview, but you were on most of the Thursday ones too at that point. And man, we always got into some weird stuff. We're talking about like the distance of the moon from the
Perigee. I remember it, dude. Perigee and what's the other one? Perigee and what?
Apogee.
Apogee. Dude, you say that right now, people are like, "What the heck is he talking about?" That's what I felt like when he brought it up in the podcast.
And then a couple things happened. Old Pike got burned out.
Yeah, I got burned out big time.
Well, first off, he got burned out for the drive. Dude was driving 4 hours a week to do a podcast.
Yeah.
Well, not 4 hours a week. It was 4 hours a night. Almost.
Yeah, close.
Yeah, it was an hour and a half down here,
3
hour and a
hours.
half back.
And that's also when we used to record it. So we'd start at like 9 o'clock. And it'd be like we'd record a minute because that was like old school podcast when we would do like 4 hour episodes. I mean, it was like Joe Rogan style.
Yeah, and y'all were wanting me to be here like around 6 o'clock.
Yeah.
And that's fighting 280 traffic at rush hour.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then,
good times.
And then sitting there and talking everything. And then, Andrew makes some homemade margaritas. And
it was all downhill from there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And remember that old table we had? So that was before we were doing video podcasts. And we had that old janky table in your guest bedroom that we would sit around recording. We had like lawn chairs or whatever, and like you sit real low and the table would be like at your chin, and like you'd be trying to like talk in the mic. It was terrible, dude. And then like we'd like have. I remember we did one with Johnny Stewart. I think we had Johnny Stewart on. It was me and Pike because I think Andrew, you didn't know who Johnny was at the time. And me and Pike did. And we're sitting there kind of asking questions. And we had that computer sitting on one end of the table. And we were all sitting around the other end of the table. We're all kind of like huddled up around the table, dude, trying to talk in the mics.
Yeah, and one of us was like completely out of frame. And every time we asked a question, we had to lean into the frame.
He's like, hey, it's Jacob here. I got a quick question. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, that's hilarious, dude. So I know that you were on in an early season deer camp and then another one later. Did y'all ever talk about your whole getting burned out and everything?
Mm-mm.
You didn't talk about it?
I don't think so.
What happened?
I don't know. I just went too hard. Too much traveling. That was around the same time, we were making all of those trips out of state.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we were just
burning the candle.
It's like we were going to Iowa. That was the last year you went hard until I guess this year was probably the year we went to Iowa the first time.
Yeah. I mean, there was a lot that was going on. I mean, I was working COVID. Y'all remember that? I was recording some stuff like on my breaks during COVID.
From the hospital.
From the hospital.
Yep.
But that whole thing, I mean, working all the overtime and gowning up and down and all of that was just a hot mess. The hospital was. That, going through the divorce.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, there was a lot that, happened. So.
Yeah, and then also I think something that compounded it. You had a lot going on in personal life with work and everything else, but also that was a year I think you missed a hammer. You bought a gun, you missed a hammer. From the way I've never seen the deer, we don't have a photo of it or anything, but the way you described it was a really big deer with a rifle sitting on the ground, and I think that was the moment I think that personally from the outside looking in broke you at that point.
Yeah, well, I think the year before that, you remember. I think the year before that, I missed 3. I still tagged out, but I missed 3 solid bucks. That big one.
Oh yeah. Okay.
In Tennessee, like.
Oh, you're right.
I mean, I hit the one, we didn't find it in Wyoming, and then missed another one in Wyoming.
That's true.
Like,
I forgot about that. That was 2020. That was the election.
Wow.
I mean, that was that year was rough, and then of course the next year, that was even more rough. I felt like I needed some balance.
Yeah, well, well, also, I mean, I think one big factor is, and because I feel like this during turkey season, like you rubbed off some bad luck on me, some bad juju.
Well,
After we had hunting camp in January, I went to miss a
you know
big
what
deer.
it is. You know what it is.
Yeah.
Same thing happened with Parker McDonald, and he'll tell you.
But he hung out with you too much and it rubbed off.
Yeah, y'all be talking all that shit, and then what happens is you end up giving me a little bit of good luck, and you take my bad luck. That's what happens.
Yeah, that's probably true. That's probably true. Because I mean, after we had at camp hanging out with you for a couple of days, and then I was like, go whiff, make a bad shot in one buck.
I remember right before that happened too. Jacob was talking, and he's like, "Man, my rifle, like
I
didn't even remember missing a deer with it. Like I never missed with a rifle." And I was just sitting there thinking, "I'm like, might have jinxed it, buddy."
A little confident.
In deer camp, I went and twisted some screws.
No. I'll tell you what you did. You had that voodoo doll over there, and you're like he's gonna miss.
Yeah.
Choking that
Jerk
voodoo.
his arm a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. And then I go whiff on 2 turkeys this year, early season or early mid season, and one was at 35 yards. And I'm like, how did I miss that turkey?
Yeah,
because then I killed 4 after the fact, and like different ranges. One was the furthest one was probably 40 yards maybe, but it's just like, how did I miss? I'm like, Michael Pike did something to me, man.
Yeah.
There's a voodoo doll out there somewhere that's getting jacked with right now.
He got me back. He was out there. He's making all kinds of noise. It didn't sound anything like a turkey the other day. I think he was like, yeah, I want to give you some bad juju.
Yeah, me
It
and
just brought you out there to feed the mosquitoes.
He's like, I'm going to try some new turkey techniques. Let me try some stuff out.
that did not happen. No, dude, yeah, we went out there and that was we're totally getting off track of deer hunting, but went turkey hunting. Pike's like, man, I kind of want to kill turkey. I'm like, dude, let's go. Like, I killed some. I know where somewhere at, dude. Let's go hunt. We get out there. We hear 2 birds gobble. Go, kind of ease our way over there, get set up. And I should have a warning label now with anybody I hunt with. Like, the way I'm hunting, like, it's not overly exciting. Like, it's not like loud calling for the most part. It's like kind of soft calling. More than likely, turkey's going to come in quiet, or he's going to answer, then maybe come in gobbling. And Thomas experienced that. And dude, we get up there on that ridge right there where you've shot a bird, kind of that little saddle that kind of comes up over that ridge point. Mm-hmm. We get set up and just nothing. That's right where that bird was gobbling from. Nothing. And then, dude, I'm not gonna lie, it was a long. We woke up pretty early and been waking up pretty early the days before. And I was sitting there, the sun hit me, dude, and I'm sitting there up against my vest, and I kind of doze off. And then next thing I know, I don't know if Pike was giggling or what. I looked over and Pike had his phone out, like kind of like looking at me.
What I should have done is just pull the shotgun out and just
cranked one off.
yeah, just
set my camera up to record him.
Dude, hey, listen, I hope you had some other shells because you ain't shoot my $12 shell up in the air.
That's right.
That's
Because
like
I only had 2.
It isn't over and under. It only has 2 barrels. But no, going back to like deer season and everything, like I spent camp with you and hunted with you in parts of kind of northern Alabama on a couple different trips, both in October then in January. And then other than that, I've seen you a couple other times, like Shane's house and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But dude, you had a hell of a year this year. You went on a little run, kind of like me with turkeys, but you went on a run with deer in a pretty short time span.
Yeah. Well, I actually rifle hunted this year. I work weekends, or I had been all those years previous, up until like when I actually stopped hunting. I think I hunted the first maybe 6 weeks of the season in 2022, and then 2023 is when I actually spent a good bit of time. Had Shane up there. That was fun, bouncing ideas off of him. Talon, we all went after it pretty hard. And that was something I really enjoyed, is having a group up there. I've never had a group up there to hunt with. Like, most of the people that hunt up there are solo for the most part, For the gun hunts, you get people together. But I'd never been a part of any of that, so I don't have a problem with going and hunting by myself, but it's a lot more fun when you got a bunch of people around camp.
Dude, we were up there bow hunting early season. It was a blast. Yeah. Like, I mean, and it helped to be able to see some deer. Like, I saw deer on most hunts and then killed that one buck during one of the muzzleloader hunts. But it's like, dude, it's fun kind of go up there camping the whole 9 yards, had a campfire, the whole situation. Except for where you weren't sleeping at the camp. You weren't camping when I had that guy come by that shot on the road. You weren't there that night, were you?
Yeah.
Were you there that night?
Yeah.
Dude cranks off a 30-06 out of his Chevy 1500. at like 11 o'clock at night after you drove by.
Yeah.
I mean, those big buck killers you see on Facebook every year. A bunch of them do that.
Easy. Listen, a lot of those big buck killers been on the podcast. A lot of those dudes are legit. So don't be
We've vet them before. We've vet them before we have them on the podcast.
Yeah.
Were you up there when that geeked out dude come flying up through there and went by Mr. Perry's and stopped in front of them, looked at them, and
no, someone
come hauling over there to us? And
no, y'all were telling me about it. I was doing something that
good old crackhead.
I don't know what he was on. He was on something.
Well, yeah. I want to talk about 2022. You got burned out and you didn't really do much. You didn't scout, didn't hunt, and then 2023 you came in and just had a really, really good year. I want to talk about how your year went, but I also want to talk about the transition from those 2 years of like, what did you do to like salvage? Because we're always like snowballing our every hunting season, right? So it's like 2021, you're like, oh, dude, next year now I know where to be. 2022, next year, and you're always looking forward. And then you kind of took a year off,
yeah,
and then rolled back into 2023 and just got them. So how'd that go?
I think it helped. I took off work. I didn't work for 5 months, something like that. Went out west for 2.5 months and just went on a solo trip. Came back, kind of rejuvenated. So after spending all that time doing that, I was ready to, get back with it. What I think helped is just going into the woods and just kind of what I said I basically did if I, was to explain it to anybody is just going into the woods, kind of hearing everything come alive, paying attention to the different sounds of, all the different birds, squirrels cutting up, all of that different stuff, and then kind of figure out what I think happened, and then go try to find trails where something would have come in from that direction, and then kind of basically game plan off of that for the next hunt. And that's how I was successful.
So you're saying that you were going in and you were getting up in a tree and you were hunting, but you were just going and listening?
I was just walking in.
You were listening for deer?
Walking in.
Interesting.
Yeah. Did they gobble
Were
good?
they gobbling good?
They were grunting good.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, you and me had a hunt where you got into a grunt fest, dude. We went out some ridge system. You dropped me off in one spot. I felt like I was getting on a guided hunt, man.
Yeah.
Mike's like, here, you go sit this spot.
Right.
Go climb this tree, and I'm going to keep going.
Yeah, I set him up on a bluff gap, and then I went to another spot where sometimes there's a scrape line. Now, the year before that, there wasn't because I think a lot of the white oaks weren't dropping that year, and so those scrapes weren't in there. But last year, they were in there early like they were the 2 years previous, and I think that has a lot to do with some of the, I guess, the amount of deer that were in there and when they were in there, because they weren't really, you didn't see the sign like that in there the year before. So I went back, visited that area. There's already a scrape line opened up. Went to the end where I'd seen a bunch of rubs, like clusters of rubs. So I knew a buck was in there like either the year before or 2 years before early season. So I went in there, set up there, and when I did, I heard it was like right at daybreak. I heard a deer grunting, and he came up through like my right to left. And I would say this deer is probably about 200 yards away. But it's dead quiet. All of the sound is kind of echoing up to where I was at. I could hear him grunting. Then I heard another one off to my right, but kind of like, I guess, about 4 o'clock or 5 o'clock. Comes in and throws some grunts out. Then I heard some to my left throw some grunts out, and they're all working towards this one spot. And then, so I had the ones off to my right. There was like 2 does, and they come up over and met up. Hold on. Forgetting to breathe.
Lord, dude.
It's been a minute since you've been on a podcast. I forgot how to talk.
Oh, my God. But sit back and get comfortable, man. Like, Just take it easy.
Are you nervous?
I did this with Talon and them too.
Dude, you nervous?
Yeah.
God, breathe, dude.
I know, right?
He ain't been in front of the light. Maybe it's the video part. This is the first. Well, no, he's been on the video.
I wasn't even thinking about that.
Now you're I just made it even worse.
Probably this nicotine too. So, anyways,
lightweight. God, I got 2 in right now. What are you talking about?
So, anyways, the 2 does come up and they meet up with all those other deer that I heard working towards that general area. And what it is a little bowl. So they work that way, and then I hear another one grunt like off to my right, while these are kind of grunting. And it's all different kind of like, levels, like like a deep grunt. You got some like medium ones, and then some real light ones. Mm-hmm. Then I heard these real light ones off to my right, and then this doe comes bounding over and goes up right over where the other 2 does came through, and then they all meet up. Well, then another doe pops back up over, and I was like, okay, so I know where all these deer were headed at first light, and so I just kind of gauged where I thought they were bedding based off of that. So then my next hunt, I went, I don't know, from where I was at that morning, it was maybe about 800 yards, something like that, and set up on the other side of where I thought that they were bedding at. And then did the same thing. And then I heard what sounded like 2 deer come in. There was already one I felt like was in the bedding area and had grunted. And then the other 2 came in, worked their way to that same spot. But I didn't lay eyes on them. I could just hear them. So from that, I walked basically towards both of those different areas where I heard those deer come in, or where I thought that they were deer that came in. And I found the trails that led into those bedding areas. So then the next hunt, I repositioned again, and I hunted the one closest to where I was coming in from the parking lot, and set up on that one. And that's when I had 2 or 3 does come in on that trail, and then a buck in behind them. That's where I shot the first one.
Mm-hmm. All right, time out. We're backing up. I want to talk about how you got into your seat. We can't jump into the deer just yet. Jacob totally derailed where I was going.
My bad.
So you when you went out west, right? You were that was all summer, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Like right leading. So you didn't do anything in the summer as far as scouting or nothing like that. No cameras.
I put when I got back home, Shane was going out. He was already putting out cameras. I already had, a couple of my early season spots that I knew I wanted to go to, which, funny enough, Shane went and put cameras on the same spot that I typically would hunt early season. He ended up, well, I won't get into what he saw, but anyways, I went and put easy access camera locations, so like on green fields or close to roads, close to access. And that's all I did as far as preseason prep. And that was just like, I don't know, that was maybe mid-September or something like that when I put those out, sometime in September. Because I didn't make it back until, I think, sometime in September.
Mm-hmm. It was like right before deer season.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure. So going back to the listening thing, so you weren't, was this before season? You're going out and literally just listening in the woods, or this is during season?
Going in and hunting.
Okay.
With my bow on the ground. And so then Jacob came up for that one, though, and he ended up leaving and then said, here's my muzzleloader. And so I took his muzzleloader, I think, for one of those days. Mm-hmm. And then next was like the first rifle hunt of the season. And that's when I shot the first Big 10. Then the second one I ended up shooting the next morning. So I knew that they were coming from that direction on that trail because I could hear them behind me when I was set up. So that was the first day I set up an actual tree, was when I shot the 10-point.
Oh, so you've been nothing but ground hunting up to that point.
Yeah. I probably last year, well, I think I only climbed a tree less than 5 times last year, total. But I mean, I tagged out pretty quick in Alabama. Mm-hmm. But even going to Tennessee, like I don't know if I ever even hunted in a tree in Tennessee though, because it was steep. So I didn't want to tote a whole bunch of stuff in. I was usually on the ground when I hunted up there. But anyways, that second morning, so I heard them coming on that same trail. So I went back over, and this was maybe like 400 yards on the other side of the ridge. I found where the sign was coming in on the day before. So the day before, I'd made a big loop, found both of those trails that they were coming into that bedding area on. Marked one of the little hubs right there, and that's where I assumed that they were coming through before they went to cross up over the ridge. So I get in there, and I end up doing some grunting. I'm trying to think of how this whole thing played out. I think at this time, okay, so here's what it was. Off in front of me, where I was set up, I heard a deer grunt that morning. And so that was after I had done some grunts. I heard the first, couple of shots, so I knew that they were probably up on their feet. Threw out a couple of grunts. He ended up coming in, got to about 50 yards away from me. I thought he was like 30 yards away from me because there was some hemlock, and I couldn't see on the other side of that. So I'm like trying to stretch and look around, like I know he can't see me because he's down there and that, but I'm going to see if I can move around and reposition to where I can see him. Well, as I'm doing that, it's weird how the sound works in these areas. He was actually about 60 or 70 yards, but he was like 10 yards higher than I was. And so I'm looking down, and he's not even down there. He's up here, and as soon as I start moving my head around, he sees me and turns around and bounds off back to where he was originally at. Well, because of the grunt sequence that I did, I had 4 does come in, and I'm on the ground. They come in to 30 yards. I am pinned. I look like a tree hugger. Like, I look like I'm out there. I'm like just hugged onto this tree, like face flat up against it, to where they couldn't, outline me, because where they came in and I had the tree in between me and them. And it's a big old tree. I'm talking about like 3 foot in diameter. But once they got dead even with me on the other side that I'm sitting on of the tree, they would have easily been able to silhouette me at 30 yards. So I got my face shoved up against the tree and like just trying to blend in as much as I can with it. Well, the first 3 come by. Well, I didn't know that there was a 4th one. And so as soon as they get by, the little scraggler way back there in the back, as soon as I pop my head around, it sees me and starts blowing. And I was like, dadgummit. And so then the other ones turn around and then they see me. So then as soon as they started blowing and running, I pulled out my grunt call and did a bunch of tendon grunts. So now I'm a buck chasing those does around. Mm-hmm. That's what I at least wanted it to sound like. And when I did that, they took off up the hill, and that buck that was across that I spooked earlier looped around, went across the creek, came in. I watched him come up the ridgeline and right up above me on that doe trail. But I knew, so as soon as I saw him, I went ahead and moved. And when I went and moved, when he looped back up and came back around, he came back to where he saw me, but I wasn't there. I'd already moved, and so I was able to get a shot off at him. He was just a little basket 8. Mm-hmm. But like I told you, like with my shooting ability, like I'm going to shoot him no matter what.
Need some confidence booster.
Yeah. So, especially like after shooting that first one, because I didn't know if I killed that one or not. Because if you remember, I ended up shooting a limb in between me and that deer. But luckily, and I couldn't hear because, it's a 450 Bushmaster with a muzzle brake. And so I couldn't hear anything for like the first 5 minutes. So I go down there to where I thought he was. I didn't see blood. And then like 50 yards from where I shot him, he was piled up and there was blood everywhere. So, but that was the first one. So the second one was the 8-point. That was the next morning. But that's how I attacked those. Now the third one, that was pure luck. I mean, it was it was pure luck. So I went the day before I shot that one. Ended up jumping a buck that was watching a scrape. Ended up seeing another buck come in just above that scrape. That was that dark to dark hunt that I was telling you about earlier. So I did that hunt. Well, then I jumped to a spot probably 1,000 yards away from that one, across the creek in a different spot. But I'd had a little bit of experience with that area before, but I'd never been to this one location. So I went in. It was the wind was blowing that morning. It was like, I don't know, it was like 20 miles an hour, seemed like. It was really cold. I didn't know what the area looked like, so I waited until daylight. Had my car running for probably 2 hours. I mean, you know me, like I get to my spots early too. Like I was there before Daniel when I first met him. He rolled up with, it was your son? Is that who it was? Or maybe it was another guy who's younger. Was it nephew or who? Brother? Okay, maybe I don't know. But anyways, they rolled up, and I've been sitting there for a minute. But yeah, it was real like cool. We talked for probably an hour. So, anyways, but so I was there for a long time before daylight. And as soon as it broke daylight, I turned the car off and I got out and I started walking down this trail. And I was like, well, it's daylight right now. I was like, the wind's coming out of like the north right now. I was like, if I was deer, I'd probably be on the south side of this ridge. So I'm going to, instead of walking down the trail like I normally do, it's like an old logging road, I'm going to go down this trail or go on the other side and maybe I'll, jump something up. Because my setup is more of like a brush gun. It's 450 Bushmaster with a reflex sight. So it's quick acquisition. Like, I mean, I can throw it up and pop something like quick, like real quick. And that's what happened. I made it like, I don't even think I'd gone maybe like 100 yards from the truck and saw that joker, jumped up out of his bed. He went and ran a little bit further, stopped, turned around and looked, and I was already on him and popped him right there. So.
And that was another 10 point?
Yeah, it was another 10 point. But like I said, that was pure luck. There was no skill involved there.
No, I mean, it sounds like you had a plan and it worked out.
I had a plan, but he wasn't I didn't make it to where I assumed he was going to be. So.
Because I think you were telling me that deer was bedded in some open woods, right?
Oh, yeah. Like, he was bedded in open woods. I mean, if you're driving down the road, if you were to look hard enough, you probably could have seen him. I mean, he was that visible.
What was he doing? I mean, just was it like a rut bed where he was watching a trail or something?
He was watching 500 yards all the way in front of him, like 180 degrees of nothing but wide open. And the only thing I can figure is because of the wind being as high as it was, he was up high, and that's where he felt safest. He could, see anything that was, coming in behind him, and he could see everything that was out there in front of him.
Mm. Well, he thought wrong, apparently.
Yeah. Yeah, he thought wrong. That's what Talon said. He said his game plan was good until it wasn't.
So I got to ask, after the experience, again, taking off a season, not really hunting, I think you told me maybe you went 1 or 2 times in 2022, to getting back into it in 2023, getting a little more excited because, Shane's up there, Talon's up there, you got a group you're going to hunt with, whole 9 yards. What were some takeaways you had from last year after getting back in it and going hard and having some other guys that you can kind of talk to about what they're seeing and kind of be able to build a different game plan than just hunting solo?
So I realized, for one, there's a lot more big bucks up there than I ever gave credit for one. With 3 of us being there and discussing, because I don't ever talk to anybody about, what they're seeing or when they're seeing deer. I mean, me and Mr. Perry, I would talk to him every now and then, but I mean, besides that, I mean, I really didn't have anybody to really talk to about, what was going on in the woods. So that was really eye-opening. It was like our man day talk that we used to talk about, you end up having basically 3 times the amount, that you would normally have. So I thought that was very beneficial. Now, Shane, he covered a lot of ground last year. Like, I don't even know if he stopped and set up anywhere. Like, that joker covered some miles. And so his, walking and covering ground, he was able to see, a lot of different deer, and he ran trail cameras a lot of trail cameras. And that was eye-opening for me, because even though I've run trail cameras up there before in the past, I mean, at the most amount that I've ever run was maybe like 5, and that was only for a certain part of the season. I've run them up there like maybe 2 cameras for the entire season for a couple of years, but besides that, I thought that was probably the most beneficial information, that I gained from all of that.
I want you to talk about the camaraderie of having some guys you can hunt with. Because we used to do that. You used to come down here and hunt a good bit. Mm-hmm. And then because, like, you moved the whole 9 yards, it made it a little more difficult, and you kind of got out at that point. But what's, like, the camaraderie now of having some buddies you can go hunt with up there?
It's good. It's good. And, I mean, just like y'all know, like, our messages, like, on
Listen, if that message group got leaked, we're all. Well, I'm not going to jail. Y'all going to jail. Okay? Not saying anything illegal, but just y'all are crazy. Y'all are wild folks.
So that kind of stuff, the banter back and forth. I mean, we're constantly cutting on each other. I mean, it's so much fun. And you get that in camp, and then you get to do something you enjoy on top of it, by hunting. There's nothing like it. It makes it to where it's less work and more fun, or, more play. So I think it makes it to where it's, if you go solo for so long, it's just going to wear you down. But you get people involved that like doing the same things you do.
You trust
they're good
them.
people.
Yeah.
You trust them. That goes a long ways.
I mean, there's a lot to that, because we had, him, Pike. We've had guys on who were big buck killer, like lone wolf, big buck killers, who just like quit hunting one day, and right now they don't hunt anymore. Isn't that crazy? I mean, I can't even imagine that. But I've always had like a pretty good group,
You've had a pretty good balance though too, because you'll be in the middle of deer season and you'll be making a beach trip, or you'll be, going to a cookout, or you'll be going to go duck hunting.
Something to change it up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I feel like you've done really good as far as having a good balance. And that's probably making it to where it doesn't wear on you quite as much.
Oh, dude, I stay fired up.
Yeah,
I stay fired up.
But that's a really good point though, because like if you're the kind of guy that, like, again, talk about like some examples we've had of like people on the podcast that like just don't hunt anymore, and they go so hard for so many years, and it's like such a mission that they've got to accomplish.
Well, that, or they kill that 160 and they're like, what now?
Yeah, and it's absolutely, and you're like, it's almost like you gotta. It's like, let me say this. It's like when me and Perry hunted in Iowa, and he had just killed. I think it was that year. It was that year he killed a real big deer. Or a year before he killed the 190.
Yeah, I think it was the year before.
Yeah, and he's like, I don't know if I'll ever kill another deer like this. I'm like, well, you're in one of the best places if you're gonna, beat that deer. It'd probably be here in Iowa, and but it's one of those things that if you do kill that once in a lifetime deer, if that's like your only goal is just to kill big deer, and now there's no other big deer to go get, and you're just like the likelihood of you outdoing that deer, like the likelihood of him outdoing that deer in Alabama, I would love to know what the percentage is. Okay, I mean it is low. Okay, but it's like you still have to have like the fire and enjoyment of doing it. Just like, if a nice 3-year-old buck comes out and gets you excited, even though he's not 190 inches because you just killed a 190, it's like, still enjoy what you're doing and enjoy the process. Because I think the guys that we know, and Pike, I think you were like this a lot. Yeah, I think you're still kind of like this, but you kind of backed off. Is so focused on like a number, like there's a number in my head, like I want to kill, like say in Alabama, I want to kill a 140-inch deer, okay, If that's your goal, and you going after it for 5-6 years and you don't have that success, you never even see one. It's one of those things like you see those deer, get them on camera, okay, like feel the fire. But if like you have that goal and you never even see a deer of that caliber, you're just like, well, it's pointless now. I don't want to go kill 120-inch deer. And it's like, you got to bring the, what do we call it? Bring the soul back? No, what was it?
Yeah, got to bring the soul back.
Yeah, just have fun with it.
Yeah.
Enjoy it.
Well, that was one thing, like, so with doing the podcast and video stuff with Parker, before I ever, we ever started doing this stuff, that was a lot of work, the whole video thing. I got to give props to people who carry in all the video equipment
for sure,
who video like Parker's hardcore.
Yeah.
I can't it's not me I tried it and I tried to enjoy it, and
I can't stand it.
Yeah. Yeah, I gotta give props though to people like that who constantly record, and they're just very driven and disciplined when it comes to that. Like it's wasn't for me. And so I think that wore me down a lot. Doing the podcasts, the drive times wore me down a lot. And I think that, Shane asked me, me and him and Talon were talking end of last season, and said something about video and stuff. And I was like, they asked if I wanted to be a part of that, and I was like, I really do want to be a part of that, but like, no, like it's too difficult. It just wears on you too much, and I think that it kind of took the enjoyment out of hunting. Same thing with putting pressure on yourself to kill a certain caliber deer or a certain number of deer. That wore on me. Last year when I went in, I was like, I'm just going to hunt and to try to enjoy the time out there and just kind of work my way through woods. That's one thing I did different, is go out there, sit for the first couple of hours, try to pay attention to what's going on in the woods, and try to, walk around and figure out, kind of in my mind, what I think is happening in this particular area. Instead of, like a lot of people will look at a map, the wind's doing this, go in, set up here, this is where they should be, go in there and not figure it out. Like, I think it's better to just walk in the woods and just kind of let everything speak to you. If you got a gut feeling to go to here, work your way over there. Like, don't come in with this preconceived notion about this is how deer have to act, because it never works out. I mean, yeah, you're going to find deer along the military crest, and they're going to be in pine thickets. They're going to be on these edges. They're going to like these hubs. But every one of these setups is a little bit tweaked, and you just got to go into the area and kind of let the woods talk to you and kind of figure it out when you're in there. Don't be like, the deer's got to come from here, because, 9 times out of 10, that's not going to happen. I mean, why do you think it's such a problem with saddle hunters who are like, well, the deer are always coming in from our wrong side or from behind me, and I'm having problems getting around on them. Like, so I just went back to a lock on. Well, it's because deer don't ever do like exactly what you think. So I think it's good to just go in there and figure it out in the woods versus having a game plan before you go in the woods.
Yeah, that's like growing up hunting with Mr. Benny, dude. Like, he's a big squirrel hunter, and that's like the only way that he's ever scouted is squirrel hunting. And it's good because you're not going in with like a specific point in mind, which can be good. Like, it is good to scout like that sometimes, but it's like he's going in there with no preconceived notions, and he's like letting his ears tell him where to go. So he's like, oh, I heard something over here. I'm going to go up over that hill and see what that was. Or,
right.
Like, something catches his eye and he just walks over there. And so you kind of wind up just walking into stuff naturally by doing that. And I mean, that's woodsmanship, dude.
Yeah.
That's what that
well,
is.
The more time you spend in the woods, the more you're going to know how things kind of move through the woods, and it's going to help out. But you're not going to get that from a podcast. I mean, you're going to get, some basics in how everybody attacks, there are different hunting situations, but everyone's a little bit different. Everyone does things a little bit different, so you can't exactly mimic just how somebody does something, because a lot of this stuff I don't even think about telling somebody, because I don't think about it. It's just kind of like, it's just how I navigate terrain, or what, how I want to access an area. I used to not think about access at all. I didn't care. And my friend Nathan Protz, we were both on a hunting beast at the same time. We'd get in these little heated discussions. I mean, we were like oil and water. I mean, it's like anything I said, he's like, no, I don't agree with that. And it took us, hunting with each other for a couple of years and been like, okay, well, we're used to do that. I see now, like, why you were doing that, and vice versa. Like, hey, I see why you were doing this now. Like, the more open-minded you get to a certain thing, the more you can kind of figure out and are able to better navigate, certain situations and hunting scenarios.
Yeah, it's like building the woodsmanship aspect. I mean, I think that's something, you can talk about woodsmanship on a podcast, but woodsmanship's truly just experience out in the field. I mean, you can't learn it. I mean, you can learn different things of like how to walk, like how not to get skylined, maybe how to, from a talking point of view, how somebody else would go about and try and navigate something, but you have to be in that situation and actually understand, also the feeling of, which Pike's known for this, Andrew, and you know this because you've got a lot with Pike in the past. We're about to bump something.
Yeah,
like you have a gut feeling. You're like, we are about to jump a deer.
Yeah,
no doubt. And you take 3 steps, and that son of a gun comes flying out. Buck, doe, don't matter.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's like just woodsmanship, like putting yourself in a certain situation where you just get like a feeling, like just because of how everything lays out, the cover, whatever, you're like, I feel like there's going to be a deer right here, and there's a deer, which is something that you can learn from. Of like, if you're actually hunting, well, that's a spot maybe set up, or take that into consideration if you're actually hunting your way through an area.
Yeah, if you get that feeling, like if I get that feeling now, I know, go ahead and stop. Like, there's no sense, like, but you don't learn that unless you're making the mistake. But people aren't willing to make the mistake. A lot of people will play it too safe. But early on, I had the opinion of, well, even if I mess up, I'm learning something and I can use it for future. Like, this isn't like a race to the finish line. It's like a, slow and steady pace. Like, I can either play it safe and, and hunt, or I can go and mess a bunch of things up. But eventually, I'm going to learn everything I need to learn, versus if you're not doing anything to learn, you're not bettering yourself. You're playing it safe, and you don't want to mess up, and that's good to a certain extent. But I feel like the risk far outweighs like what you're gaining if you're setting up safe. Like, just go and mess up a bunch. I mean, if you've got years left to hunt, if you're just getting into it, go mess up. Go mess up as much as you can. Like, because you're going to be learning from each situation.
Yeah, and people get aggravated too, or it's like it's easy to get frustrated if you listen to a podcast like this one, and you get tactics every week. Like, you get this injection of new ideas for you to go try, and for a lot of people it works out because they have a baseline level of that woodsmanship, and that's where all of our listeners' success stories come from. Like, people go out and try this stuff and it works, but there's always people who go out and try it and it doesn't work, myself included. The first 3 years of the podcast, I feel like I got worse at deer hunting because I was like taking all the information and like I was trying too hard to like really conform with it, right. And I wasn't kind of making it my own.
Yeah.
And that's what a lot of people are missing, is the woodsmanship. Like, it's the intangible stuff. And we actually were just talking about this with your turkeys, where, like Jacob tagged out on turkeys this year, and he really didn't change anything that dramatic. He just called a little bit quieter, and he was a little bit more careful with how he walked around. It was like little things that changed, where he just kind of got better at it over time. And it's just time in the field, and it's that intangible thing that like I can't really explain to you. You just have to go out there and figure it out.
Like the whole gut feeling, knowing when to stop. Like we did that when Thomas killed his 4th bird this past Sunday. It's, I had a feeling we were working this bird, and I was like, he's going to cross this roadbed, and it's wide open woods. If we come around this bend on the side of the ridge we're walking right now, like they're going to see us from 300 yards. We got to stop. And a couple of years ago, I probably would have been like, let's just keep pushing the envelope.
Oh,
and we
yeah,
would have
dude.
jumped. That turkey would have been flying.
Or the calling thing, the volume. Yeah. It's like you just cluck as quiet as you can on that slate call, and he hammers it at 150. You're like, oh my God, I could hear that.
Yeah.
You know?
Pike was like, you're not calling loud enough, man. I can't even hear you.
Well, I'm only like 20 yards in front of him, and I'm like, dude, I can barely hear you. Like, how's a little turkey head 150 yards away?
He got them big old holes on the side of his head, bro. Yeah.
So,
It's that, but that's the thing that a lot of folks are missing, you know, is the intangible. And also, I'm curious on your thoughts of because you've been on so many interviews with us, and you've listened to a lot yourself, and you're on the hunting beast. You know, hearing somebody else's tactic, and it almost doesn't work that well if you go and try it just absolutely verbatim.
Well,
right?
it's what I was actually about to touch on. So
see, this is why you got to move back down here.
I can't remember who I was talking with during hunting season. I can't remember who it was. Maybe it was Leopard, or maybe I can't remember who it was. There was somebody that did not hunt where we typically hunt, and they've heard me talk about the birds.
Oh, I think it was Leopard, yeah.
And I am die hard when it comes to those birds. If they start cutting up, I am paying attention.
Not just blue jays, like chickadees.
Yes, all of
everything.
Wrens,
so I'm paying attention to that because they don't just do that for nothing. There's some reason that they're are doing that. Whether or not it's you walking into the woods and you're about to bump a deer, or either a deer coming closer to you. But anyways, Leopard was like, yeah, we didn't. I've never really experienced that up where I hunt, but I come down here and it is 100% the truth. And I was like, you know what? That may be some disconnect between a lot of these tactics and things that people talk about. It's very area specific. Like, just because a bird alarm calls a deer down here doesn't mean necessarily that they're going to do it in another area. And so you might hear me saying that and start paying attention to it, and it never pan out. But like down here, like it's the gospel, which is another like one of his little sayings, like pretty much like is something being the gospel. You talking about Leopard? You look at me like you don't know what I'm talking about.
Yeah. I'm tracking.
Okay. So yeah, I would say that you really just got to figure it out for yourself. Go into the woods.
Also, well, Mike, talk about you've been on so many different interviews with us in the past. Okay. One of the biggest things I see from listeners, I want to get your take on it, is they hear something that sounds amazing. A guy's doing like some kind of strategy, whatever. Like, we'll give them feed trees, okay? And they go and try it one or two times because they can only hunt a Saturday. They can't hunt during the week. Maybe they can't hunt Sunday. They try it for 2 weekends, 2 days. It doesn't work, and then they're instantly doing something else.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like here now, that plays into exactly what we just talked about too. We tried feed trees here, and I mean, you don't really see it like you hear the Arkansas people talk about it. Mm-hmm. Like, who was it?
Richard
Fott, yes. Yeah. He talked about really those feed trees. Warren Womack, he talked about the feed trees. We went to Georgia, and it was like they took a tiller up under every single white oak we saw down there. Yep. Like, I mean, and that's just moving a couple of hours to the southeast of where we typically hunt. And, but it was a night and day difference. Like, I mean, you hear feed trees up here and you're just like, no, like, you may see some leaves ruffled up here and there, but it's not like you're hearing everybody else talk, like where it looks like destroyed underneath it. And it was destroyed.
Yeah.
Every single white oak that we found over there was just absolutely hammered. Like, you wouldn't even see any leaves up under the tree. Like,
but see, my thought is kind of my point. What I was trying to say with just anyone trying something for a couple weekends and they give up on it is I don't think there's any necessarily one strategy. I mean, there's a couple I can maybe think of that, like, if you do instantly, it may. I'm not saying you're going to kill something, but you may or may not have like a different outcome to like how you're setting up for something by applying like a certain strategy. But most of these strategies these guys have been doing for so long. And it's like, it's so ingrained with them that like, it's just natural. And because they have that strategy, but they also have their experience, they know how to handle different situations first. If you're going out there, and I just use feed tree example just as an example, but like if you're going out there trying to apply something, like you hear like Shane Parker talking about hunting thermal hubs. Okay, we had so many messages like, well, what does it mean north facing thermal hub or west facing thermal hub or whatever? And it's like he's been doing it for so long that when he explains it, he kind of like blows, he'll like blow through it, and like you almost kind of like kind of bring him back. Like a lot of these, you got to bring him back down to reality. Like, okay, let's simplify this. It's like kind of hash it out more. But it's like if you just go out there and apply it 1 or 2 times, there's a good chance. Like they don't go out the first time they use it and kill a deer. It's like they're doing that throughout the whole season with their strategy, and it's like you can't just go out there and apply something for 1 or 2 times and think it's instantly you're going to kill a buck or kill a deer.
Yeah, well, no, and that's with deer hunting in general. Like, I mean, you can have every tactic known, like Shane, but I mean, how many times is he going to go out there and set up exactly like he should and not see something?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we all do it.
Yeah, I mean, most deer hunters, you're not killing one every. I'll say that's the difference between deer and turkey hunting. There is no way in my life I'm going to kill 3 bucks back-to-back days. Okay,
I was going to say, with all y'all in our Facebook group, I was like, I know why y'all all like turkey hunting now because y'all can kill the mess out of them.
But but the thing is like that's the huge difference because like deer, like Andrew, you brought this up during turkey season at one point, talking about like deer, like if you killed like a really nice buck, it's much more of like an accomplishment. You feel like than like just killing a turkey. Mm-hmm. But like turkey's like kind of good for the soul aspect, like just like the stop.
A turkey's just fun. Like it's just fun, dude.
But like a deer, it's like it's more to me. Both of them are mental, but like a deer, it's like. Every time you go in the woods, you don't know what could happen. Like, you might set up and you're just like, this probably isn't the day. Turkeys is like, there's always a chance you could hear one gobble and something like that. But it's like deer, it's like you're hunting for this chance to see this ghost of a buck that you either have on trail camera or you think he's there because of the sign or whatever. And sometimes it pans out, sometimes it doesn't. And it's like, it's like a longer term game, I feel like, with deer hunting that like can really wear on somebody and where like a strategy, when you just apply it once or twice, it doesn't work. But like for turkeys, you just change up your calling. That might be the biggest difference of you killing something. But like deer, I don't think you're going to change any one thing. And like the very next day, you go out there and kill a buck.
Yeah, and the turkey thing is like the way I put it is like a short term kind of fun because like you don't have a lot of time invested in like a turkey because you don't know if it's the same turkey. Like that you can't tell, unless it's got some crazy feature to it. So you're just going out and finding a turkey. But it's like dude, any given day of the week. Like a nice turkey, paintbrush beard, 1.25 inches, maybe even 1.5 inches spurs is not as hard as a mature buck. Mm-hmm. Like, and I know some turkey hunters are going to get like real upset, but it's just not, dude. It's not because that he's sleeping in a tree all night. You know that if you find any sign from him, it was made during the daylight. Mm-hmm. And like, there's not any variables like there is with deer hunting. Like they're moving at night. They're like switching home ranges, which I guess turkeys can do that too. But again, you're not targeting an individual turkey, so it's just different. So like for me, the deer is like constantly in the background of everything. So it's like I'm squirrel hunting, I'm looking for deer sign. I'm turkey hunting, I'm looking for deer sign. I'm thinking I'm going crappie fishing next week. I'm looking for deer sign. Like I'm gonna be looking up at the banks.
I was gonna say, are they bedding out there in the water or something?
Dude, hey, when it gets hot enough, you never know. You see them swim across that lake. But like all the other stuff for me is just short term fun to break it up and not get burned out and keep myself fresh. Because like if it's the middle of deer season and I take a weekend and I duck hunt, then that just kind of refires me up because now like I've kind of deprived myself of going deer hunting a little bit, and so now I'm looking forward to that next weekend even more. And it just keeps it fresh, dude. It just keeps it fun.
Oh, but we're duck hunting this year, by the way. I'm going.
I've been waiting. No,
I'm going. This last couple of years.
Look, this is just another example of everyone giving me crap about everything I do, and then he's going to bandwagon on now that I got it figured out.
We can make some time.
Every time.
I've been listening to this waterfowl podcast for some boys in Alabama, and it kind of got me want to go shoot a couple wood ducks over there on the club.
Oh, dude, I went twice last year and limited twice.
That's it? I thought you went more than that.
No, I went 2 times, limited 2 times, and that's about all I cared to do.
Interesting.
And then I'll switch back to deer.
Yeah. Hey, side note, Pike, was it last year we went dove hunting or 2 years ago when you shot Andrew's double gun?
That was 2 years ago.
God, time flies.
Or maybe 3 years ago.
No, it was 3 years. If he was shooting my gun?
Your CZ?
Yeah, I think that was around.
Holy crap.
Because I bought my CZ when I got Boone, and Boone's 3.
Yeah, every bit. Because I was that was like right after I did keto and intermittent fasting, and I looked like a little sick, little skinny 18-year-old.
Oh.
Yeah, my pants were baggy and like my face looked like it was all sucked in, like I ain't eaten a month. Yeah, I got a picture of that somewhere.
Yeah, we got pictures of those doves. I killed a bird the very first time I ever fired that shotgun. Very first shot out of the gun, I freaking got one. I was like, I ought to just put it on the shelf.
And you went downhill from there.
Yeah, y'all set me up. I was down there by myself.
I wasn't there. I wasn't there, was I?
Yeah.
Where the heck did we go? Was that in public?
Because both y'all are out there. I'm pretty sure.
It's where we ran.
I think you showed up late, maybe.
I think it was you, me, and Tiffany.
Yeah, I wasn't there.
You sure?
Yeah, dude.
JT was. I think it was JT.
Oh, okay.
Dang,
maybe it was.
Tell me. Listen, JT.
Yeah, it was JT and Addison.
So, anyways, I'm down there by myself, and anyways, I ended up having a dove come over, and I ended up shooting it and going and getting it. We get back up at the end of the thing, and I had my dove, and he's like, "What? You got one?" And I was like, "Yeah."
I couldn't believe it. Pike's not known for his shooting skills. I mean, what can I say?
Well, I think so. Here's the thing: like the fast, the quick reflex type shooting. I think I'm okay at that.
Well, I'll tell you what's even more fun. And I know some people get upset. Like your shotgun that Shane's letting you borrow for turkey season. You need to ask him if you can borrow it for dove season and use that red dot.
Yeah,
because I did that last year. It's fun.
He didn't hit a dang.
What
thing.
are you talking about? Shot a limit.
Hey,
it took me a while. Listen,
I hit a dang thing. I'm talking about burned 4 boxes of shells to shoot a limit.
I'll tell y'all this: I shot better with a bead than I did with the sight. But y'all are telling me I really needed a sight because I may not be paying attention to it when that turkey comes in like that. I may end up not lining everything up like I should, but I actually was absolutely killing it with that bead sight.
Your shooting is weird.
You're so weird.
You're so weird.
Such a weird person.
No wonder you can't hit deer, man.
Like I've never met. Actually, I did meet somebody recently. I was like, you and Pike are the only two people I know that. Oh, Greg Mayer, he was telling me, he's like, dude, I'm more confident with a bow than I am with a rifle.
Yeah.
I'm like, what? I'm like, you and Pike are the only two people I know that would say that.
I think Shane's not far behind me. When me and Shane talked this year, like,
listen, if the Russians invade, bro, y'all can't be running around with bows. Y'all need some firearms.
Talon was like, listen, y'all just go find the bucks and I'll shoot them. Okay.
Yeah, that's right.
That'll work.
Hey, this year when you were like rolling into your season, were you already familiar with the spots you killed like your 10 points in, or were you kind of striking off into some new stuff?
I had struck off in a different direction from the area I focused on, but I still had scouted the whole area before, so I had a general understanding of how everything kind of laid out. That was the spot where I shot the first two, because where I had scouted previously was like further. It was further up there to where I ended up meeting you that one time. And for anybody who can't see, like
Daniel's on camera right now.
Yeah,
and not Mike.
So the second spot, same kind of thing. Like I'd hunted in the general area, but had never made it to that spot, so it was just going in blind.
Did you kind of get drawn over there by like the birds and everything, like you were talking about earlier, where you were just going out and listening? Did you like kind of drift in there that way?
On the second one, on like the last buck.
Mm-hmm.
So it was because I had jumped that one big buck watching that scrape and had that other buck over there. So I knew that they were in that general area, and I was trying to figure out what would be the best bedding locations or most secure cover for that general area for those bucks to, move through. Mm-hmm. And that's what I was headed to that morning. Once we got down there, once we ended up tracking that deer, we ended up running into all of that sign. So, yeah, it would have been a correct assumption of, but I didn't have to work that hard to actually get to where I shot him.
Hey, one thing you're going to have to do this year, because I know it was a little rough last year, at least with one or two of the bucks, is you got to figure out how to pack a deer out now.
Well, no, I've already packed plenty of deer out. Mr. Perry said I needed to get that deer out whole. That way I could take some really good pictures of it. I will not do that again.
Yeah, you take him in the field.
I will not do that again.
It's a lot easier to carry a camera in than carry a deer out.
Yes.
I'll put it that way.
Absolutely. That was my thought. It's like, leave a camera in the truck. I'll go back to the truck.
I'll go get my big backpack.
Yeah.
My pack out frame, and I'll get my camera.
And you get the camera, come and take some photos, pack them up.
Yeah.
Hold on yours.
I also, go ahead.
I'm dead. Cause Adam was our buddy that was in.
Yeah, God bless him.
He helped me get all 3 of mine out.
All 3? Did you tip him?
No, I ended up buying him dinner.
That ain't enough, man. I want some $100 bills at that point. Because you don't kill nothing close to a road.
So, the first one, it was only like, it wasn't far at all, but it was so steep, and we were
Need a winch.
We're gonna try to drag that thing out, and we're both like, "There's no way." And he's like, "Listen, I got the cart. We'll just go get the cart." Went and got the cart, and took it off down in there, and the wheels were like wanting to like bow out, like that deer was so big, and we started dragging it up, and there was no way we were getting that deer out, even me and him. What was bad though is he had like pneumonia, and
You try to kill him is what you're saying.
yeah, like it sounded like he was coughing up a lung, but he was like adamant about helping me get that deer out. And anyways, we ended up having to get a block and tackle and attach it to the winch just to get it up that steep stuff. Like it was that steep. And I mean, it took us like 3 hours to go like 800 yards. Mm-hmm. I mean, it was ridiculous. It was absolutely ridiculous.
Man.
That cart.
That sounds like our deer cart.
Our cart, at least, I mean, the wheels work. Everything else is kind of jacked up.
We're talking about retiring that cart and somehow putting it in the studio.
Yeah.
Because it's hauled out so many deer, but that thing is...
I mean, y'all saw the pictures of the cart that I took, didn't you? Like, did you see it? Oh, my gosh. Like, the wheels, seriously, are like... They're like 4 inches. It's so warped. It looks like instead of a
the axle is like
instead of a straight line on the wheel, it's like it looks like an S all the way down it. Like, I mean, it was ridiculous. Like, there's no way that cart will haul another deer out unless you get some new wheels for it.
Dude.
At that point, just go over to Academy or someplace and go get you a cheap cart.
He ended up getting he said he didn't pay nothing for that cart, and it had, hauled out tons of deer, so he ended up going and buying one of the actual hawk carts like I used to have. So
we need
he's
to get
got that now.
want something like that.
The
our cart's awful.
Yeah.
I'd almost rather just drag it and use our cart.
No, I'll cart it.
I'd like to get a sled, I think, for
I got a jet sled.
We've never used.
I would
though.
much rather use a jet sled than a cart in most situations.
Do you think a sled would be easier, like in a little steeper stuff, from like a stopping standpoint, holding it, or the sucker just want to take off? Right. The thing is, like, if you have a cart in like steep country, it's like you can't stop. I mean, if you stop, you better like sit down and hold a tree or something, because that sucker wants to roll back down.
Just pull the jet sled up over a tree and let it rest against a tree.
Yeah, see, that's I guess you could do it with the cart.
I've pulled a bunch of weight around in a jet sled. It's nice. It's much easier, especially if you're in some flat land and you got a little bit of water. Oh my god!
Or like some water oak leaves or something that's so slick.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah,
rip it right across.
That's for sure.
It's not gonna be fun dragging it on a gravel road though, or some kind of like logging road system.
I mean, it's still not that bad. It's just loud as crap. Yeah, everything.
Everybody will know where you're coming from.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, definitely. Hey, I want to talk about also not getting overextended when it comes to traveling to hunt, because I make the joke about being like worse at hunting the first 3 years of the podcast. That's really what it was.
Yeah,
because dude, we were everywhere.
7 different WMAs in the state.
100 a different place every single weekend.
But that's the thing. If you're going to be hunting the rut, like in Alabama, if you're going to try to chase it, you're going to spend probably the first 3 years just learning when you should be at a different place. But once you get that figured out, then you're set up from then on out. So you got to decide, are you willing to put in the effort up front and maybe not be successful, but learn it and then have all of the years following that to where you know when to be in those areas?
Yep.
Or, that's how I'd go about it if it was me.
Yeah.
And that's what I did for the first, couple of years. And it was 3 years ago when I tagged out in 3 different WMAs.
Yeah, 21.
Yeah.
21. Yeah, it was 21.
The year before I took off.
Yeah.
And then also going on out-of-state hunts, talk a little bit about maybe what you've done in the past, but also what you're looking to do this year. Because like I think all of us have changed a good bit on out of state.
I got a message this morning. Have y'all looked at the?
Kansas?
No.
Oh. Yeah. I knew about it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Clay texted me.
Clay texted
but see,
me.
Jacob already told me how the regs changed and everything.
Yeah.
Andrew's definitely not going to come.
Yeah.
Oh, velvet hunt?
Yeah.
Y'all can have that.
Yeah.
I'll go fishing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I told Clay, I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's a bow hunt?
Yeah.
Yeah, y'all can have it.
Yeah. That's
Y'all can
what
have
we
it.
all said.
See, look, that, and
I still got 2 cell cameras up there.
I'm trying to get Jacob to go hunt like a mountainous area
Oh, we're doing it. Oh.
on the week after that, where it's gonna be freaking. It's gonna feel so good. It's gonna be nice. We're gonna beat the
65
heat. I'll tell you about it
degrees.
afterwards. I'll tell you about it afterwards.
Because I might be down.
He just
Dude,
piqued
you want
his
to
interest.
listen?
Yeah.
Hey, Mike, you probably hammer a big old buck.
I bet you would like it for real. We'll talk about it. We'll talk about it in a minute. But when it comes to planning, so like what we used to do is we just went and hunted everywhere where someone on the internet was like, "Hey, this place has big bucks." We would go hunt it, baby, and not kill anything.
Yeah.
It was like a different place every weekend. And now I've gotten to where if I'm going to go out of state, I want to do like 1 trip a year, 2 trips a year, maybe but put time into it. And I don't want to do the whole, like, some people enjoy this. I do enjoy it, but like, I got to be more guarded about my time now. So it's like, I'm not going to like drive on Friday night for 6 hours and sleep at a gate and then hunt like all day Saturday, hunt half a day Sunday, and then drive back. Like, I'm just not going to do that.
No.
Because I'm not going to kill anything. And I'm not building for the next week or whatever.
Yeah.
So like I'm like a lot more focused with it. And also nowadays I'm trying to go to places where I'm going to build, and I'm doing like the multi-year thing where I'm like, I might not kill them this year, but next year, the year after, I should get a crack at something, you know.
And instead of breaking it up into a bunch of smaller trips, I think you're more beneficial in setting up a block of time all together. That way you stay focused. Unless you're somebody who gets burnt out real easy, then hunting multiple days in a row, you may end up, the last half of your trip, you may end up being worthless and not waking up on time and, stuff like that. But I think, a good block of time, like you said, like whenever you hunt for multiple days in a row, how much better do you get more in tune to your environment?
It's like Arkansas. Dude, Andrew killed both of his bucks in this. I mean, almost not the same tree, but I mean, he could shoot at each tree.
Same spot.
He killed both of the bucks.
And bro, when you're hot, you're hot.
Yeah.
And then
when you're not, you're not.
I drove back to Alabama the next day, so I killed one day, and then I don't think I killed one the next day, and then the third day I killed one. 4th day I drove home. 5th day I killed one in Alabama.
Yeah.
So I killed 3 bucks in 5 days.
Yeah. Y'all are funny going back and forth last year because, like, Jacob got on the board early. Did you kill 2 before he killed his first one? You just killed 1. But then I was like, all right, Andrew, like, you gotta kill you one now. And
I
then
came
he
back with a vengeance.
Then he kills like 3 in the week. And I'm like, oh, you're now, Jacob. Like, you got a lot of catching up to do now.
Yeah.
He was so mad on that Arkansas trip. Like, you could tell, like, he's like, Andrew, come up here, and he's already shot 2 and then went back home and shot another one. He's like, I'm still up here in Arkansas, and he's like, he was just frustrated. But I know your frustration. I mean,
what was rough is because I hunted that area 2 different years, and like knew it really, at least knew a couple areas really well. I'm like, it's a guarantee. Like, if I get 7 days of hunt there, I'm killing 2 bucks.
Yeah,
like 2 nice bucks. Because I should have done it the previous year.
I saw this unravel in real time.
And then,
I know exactly what he did wrong.
And then we get there, and it's just like I really wanted, because I was so confident. I was this is my thought process, and Andrew's going to argue with me about this, but I was like,
whatever he's about to say is wrong.
Everybody go wherever they want. I'll take the 4th spot, okay? So, like, because I'd run up there, we ran trail cameras, ran like 11 trail cameras, 12 trail cameras, and Anthony was hunting with us, my uncle, Thomas, my brother, and Andrew was there, then I was there. So we had 4 of us, and Anthony never hunted there. Thomas has hunted there quite a bit, and Andrew's never hunted there. So I was like, I want Andrew to get on deer, I want Anthony to get on deer. Thomas can fend for himself, but he'll have his own spots he'll go to, whatever, and I was kind of find something else. And it was like day 1, Thomas kills.
Yep.
I think.
Yep.
Day 1, Thomas kills. Day 2, and what the heck were we doing? We went to like the wrong side of the river. We were like, I don't know why we went over there.
The day that Thomas killed?
Yeah, like we didn't hunt.
Because, here, I'll tell you exactly why we went over there. Because we got there, and we had dropped pins independently of one another, right? And there was one, and so obviously a bunch of them ended up overlapping because we think similar. And there was one pinch point in particular. I was like, if somebody hunts this every day, they're going to kill 2 bucks. And then if someone else starts hunting it, they're probably going to kill a buck too. Like, it's the best spot. And I was like, Jacob, you need to go hunt there. And he's like, no, I don't want to. And what he wanted to do is he wanted to keep going and finding new stuff. When he went up there, he hunted it, he scouted it, he ran cameras. He knew where to hunt. And he was like, no, I think this over across the river where I haven't been yet, it's going to be better. And so I'm like, fine, I'll hunt it. And I killed 2 bucks there like that. Anthony shoots a 140-something in his other spot. Thomas kills 2 bucks. It's like, bro,
You know, that is
what are you doing?
that is textbook Jacob. You can tell him all day long, this is what you need to do. And he is not going to do it. He is going to pick somewhere totally different because he wants to be the one that came up with the idea.
He did it in Georgia, too.
He did it in...
What are you doing?
Well, you may need to mark that one. Pick up where I left off, guys.
Name dropping son of a gun. Gosh.
God.
Yep.
Yeah, that is true. I like to try to do it. Like, if someone ever sends me to a spot, like Shane sent me to a spot last year when I was hunting with you guys during bow season, and I felt so dirty. Like, I really don't, like when I went into that spot you sent me to, you're like, because I looked at the map and I already thought, you're like, oh, dude, I've been in there, like, this is how you need to get in there and stuff. I got down in there, I felt dirty, like, I shot that buck, rattled that buck in, but it's like, when someone tells me about a spot to go to,
you found these spots in Arkansas.
I know.
You found them. Look, the funniest part about
yeah.
it is, like, it's this great pinch point. This is where I killed both of my bucks. This freaking great pinch point.
Right around a slough head.
And he's had a camera there, multiple shooter bucks, got like 25 does coming through there in the rut. And he's like, I think look at this pinch point across the river. I'm like, so you're telling me that you're going to go to this other pinch point to try to find exactly what you already have on camera in daylight right here? Didn't work out.
I feel you.
I mean, it worked out for me.
I feel
and Thomas.
I'm similar. I'm similar.
Dude, Anthony, listen. So Thomas was trying to go to this one spot that he wanted to hunt. And they pulled in, and there was another dude parked there in a boat. And he was going to hunt somewhere real close to the water, and they were going to hike off the water. And I told Thomas, because Thomas was like, well, crap, I don't know where I'm going to put Anthony. I'm like, you need to go put him over there where I seen 3 shooters last year, like, second day of season, like, in this, like, CRP field. And, like, it's a hellhole. He's got a saddle. It's going to be terrible getting in a tree, but if he can get in there, he'll kill one. Or, like, probably see some deer. And he went over there, and by God, it was a rough. He had a big old 8-point come running by 15, 20 yards, couldn't shoot the thing, too much cover. It goes off with the doe, and then he kills his 140-inch giant, comes out later, like, 1 o'clock, and I had the boat stuck, and I couldn't go anywhere. I'm 7 miles from the boat ramp, and I'm just going to
right in the spot that Jacob, leading up to this hunt, would not stop talking about. He was so excited about hunting the spot, and he just didn't hunt it.
Yeah.
Just didn't hunt it, bro.
Yeah.
It happens, though.
Hey, everybody had a good time. I'll take it. I'll take it right here on the sleeve. Well, everybody have a good time. Shot some deer. It's all good. It's all good. It did hurt. It's an expensive tag. I ain't gonna lie.
Are you do the same thing this year?
Probably. Just repeat that same pattern.
It's a vicious cycle.
Yeah. I don't know.
Self-abuse.
Yeah. It's just like, God, man. But yeah, Arkansas was rough. That sucks. If we draw Kansas, I definitely ain't doing that. You go find your spots. I'm going to my spots.
So, as a point of wrapping up, because we're over an hour, and I'm going to go get some Mexican food, dude. What do you have planned this year as far as traveling? Where are you going to hunt? Got any plans? Nothing yet.
Me and Shane and Talon. Well, we don't know if Talon will be able to go because he just started a new job, but we talked about making an out-of-state trip. Now, it's went from Arkansas to Indiana to like Wisconsin, back to Indiana so far. So who knows where we'll end up? But yeah, that's the only out of state trip as far as I know.
Yeah, just doing like a block. You're going to go out for like 7 days or something.
Hey, have you been putting for any SOA hunts?
Dude,
you start and like if you draw, you take old Papa right here, okay? Especially if it's 1 or 2 of them.
Oh, well, you gonna take me? If
sure, I'll leave Andrew at the house. He's had his chances.
Had my chance, son. Listen. Terrible. I'm the only one that's drawn blood both times. I killed one last year.
What'd you kill? A doe?
Yeah, I killed a doe.
I mean, yeah, you got
killed more than you did.
That's true. I wasn't too worried.
Wouldn't you get a shot at last
actually,
year?
dude, I didn't see any does. I saw one doe the whole hunt. It was just nothing but small bucks and then two
Hey, dude, you want
shooters.
to talk about another example of what we were just talking about? The spot I killed that doe, I saw is the first day. I saw 15 deer in like 2 hours sitting in the spot. And I was like, hey, we need to hunt that. And then the river flooded out and we couldn't get to it until the last day. And it started waning, and Jacob didn't want to sit in the wane. And so he was driving around in his truck, and he drove up on the spot. And what stands there? But at the time, he was saying it was like a 140-inch 8-point. By now, he's at least a 160, most likely.
That's 140-inch. It was a gigantic 8-point. Listen, I've been up to Daniel's shot enough to like see what, again, 140s look like right in prairie. That deer was gigantic. But no, I hunted another spot, but yeah, that was a terrible execution of hunts. Bad shots, not focused, whole 9 yards. Who knows? Again, Michael Pike rubbed off on me.
Yeah.
Shot at a deer, made a bad shot, didn't recover the deer. Deer, I'm sure, lived. I think it was a low leg hit, unfortunately. Shot a pig, couldn't freaking recover the pig.
You know, I've kind of put you on 2 deer now.
Put me on 2 deer.
Yeah.
One.
Your Tennessee velvet deer.
Oh, that 100%. No doubt. No doubt. Would not have killed that deer with the old Pike.
Did that feel dirty?
Nah,
No.
okay.
I was going to say,
He's full of crap.
Nah, I was cool. That hunt I was cool with.
And he only feels dirty if he doesn't kill anything.
he let a decent little 8-point walk that other spot I set you up at last year.
Yeah. He came up. I think I got footage of him off. I might have filmed him on my phone. I'm not sure.
Did you?
No, you had your camera and everything.
Oh yeah, we got him on the A7. Where's that footage at, Andrew?
Wait, which buck is this?
The one that came up through the gap when I was bow hunting with Pike. Came in like, I don't know, 30 yards maybe.
Oh, yeah. I got that footage.
Yeah.
I got it.
Nice, pretty buck. I ended up shooting one about the same size later with a muzzleloader.
See,
after I rattled him in.
Did you see on our listener success story today, Mason Brook drop time bucket got posted, and I guess one of his buddies or something commented on it, and he's like, you should have let that deer walk, gave him another year.
No, he said, I would have let that deer walk.
And then he commented back, and he was like, the 85-inch deer on your wall says otherwise. And I was like, this is like me and Jacob talking. I'll get a nice buck on camera, and Jacob's like, oh, I mean, he's all right. And I can't ever tell if he's like serious or if he's messing with me. And then Jacob goes out and shoots a buck 43 inches smaller than whatever we have on camera. Every time, dude.
It's the excitement, man. They come in into a rattle, start thrashing trees. If he's got 8 tines, not 8 tines, no, 8 points. Yeah, I said that last year. 8 tines, that's a gigantic deer, man.
Hey, this is as good as anybody. Like, if Jacob calls you and tells you and describes the buck as cool, you know that it's not a big buck. He's like, man, I just shot like a really cool buck.
Or here's one. If you're ever planning on going on an out-of-state hunt or traveling somewhere with Jacob and he tells you how awesome and amazing a spot is, listen, he is a salesman at heart. He will have you believing there is,
Where was this?
It's like y'all
Wyoming.
You sell me on Wyoming. No, you do it all the time.
Yeah.
He'll be like, I went in this spot and I saw 50 rubs and like there's one on about a, I don't know, like
30-inch diameter tree.
Yeah, 30-inch diameter tree, and like you go in there and you're just like, I don't even know where any of this sign is. Like, but in his head and him explaining it, like you are totally sold. Like you're gonna see so many 150-inch deer in there, and you get in there and like there's a couple of spikes and.
Hey, I felt the same thing when I went to that spot and shot that one with the muzzleloader last year. Like, man, that place was tore up with sun. I get down there, there ain't nothing down here.
Yeah,
man.
That was from like a year or two before. Was the last time 2 years ago.
Hey, wherever I told you about seeing 50 rubs, that was from the previous year. Let me tell you.
He'll call you. He'll be so excited after he comes out of the woods with every hunt. Like, but I'll tell you what, I love that excitement. Like hearing you so excited about something will get anybody fired up.
That's why Jacob's good to have in camp.
Yeah.
He's a fun guy to have in camp.
Yeah, if I'm not feeling it, trust me, it's not a great hunt. So
no, Jacob's all depressed in the corner. You're like, let's just go home.
that was like the Arkansas hunt. It's like, dude, I was finding so much big sign, dude, just like huge rubs, and I'm like, there's got to be a freaking giant in here.
Yeah.
Then we went to go pull trail cameras out of some of those spots, and it's just like we had one mature buck on camera. Man, he probably weighs 190 pounds, but his rack looks like, for video listeners, I mean, he's like that.
Oh,
that one that was like wearing that scrape out.
Yeah.
I'm like, there ain't no way he's the one making these rubs in here. Like, there's no way. I mean, maybe he is, but like, there's so much gigantic sign in here. It cannot be that deer. And ended up getting some big deer on camera on other cameras, but yeah, it's like get so distracted going there, and you're like, oh man, it's gonna be a honey hole. Not often it is. So kind of is what it is.
Man, now that we've killed Jacob's self-confidence,
Bring it back down to reality.
bringing it back down to reality.
It's all good. So let me tell you something. If I kill a big deer this year, when I kill a big deer, we're real confident on this one.
Right.
I'm going to text y'all, I killed a real cool buck.
It probably will be real cool. Cool 90 inches.
Spike on one side, 4-point on the other side.
Oh, dude.
Yep.
There ain't a half rack safe. All right, cool. Well, you got anything else?
I'll say this on the next episode. Daniel had mentioned something, or y'all had mentioned something about the moon. I agree with what Daniel said. I just have some little tweaks I do with the moon. So, I'm not saying that what he's saying is wrong. Because I gave y'all some looks.
Little foreshadowing.
When he said he doesn't go, into anything about the moon, he don't care about the moon, I do have my own thoughts about the moon.
He takes it very personal.
Well, listen, when you see those deer show up at all the same time in 3 different states, like next to each other, or 3 different counties that you hunt in all at the same time, like, and you look at the overhead underfoot and it's like, yep. But what you said is definitely true. So
y'all will hear that on next. That episode will come out after this episode does.
Yes.
Yep.
So yeah, y'all will hear that next Monday, everybody. But anyways, other than that, Mike, appreciate you coming down here and driving the 17 hours down here to come do a podcast. So, little road trip action. But
maybe y'all can move up there with all of the big buck killers up there. But it seems like they're moving north.
Yeah, well,
Got all these people chains up there now. Y'all need to get on up there.
listen. Wherever Andrew goes, it don't matter. But Andrew's the one you got talking to, and actually really got to talk Tiffany into.
I was going to say we'll talk to the one who wears the pants around the house.
I don't know about but
I'm just busting his balls.
Listen, it's like happy wife, happy life.
Oh yeah,
I think it's pretty true. And then and also,
y'all are acting like it'd be hard to talk her into it. I was telling Daniel, she's already talked into it.
Well, so the thing
go talk to the federal interest rate. We ain't moving. Y'all be sure to go out in November.
Yeah,
so Andrew can move to where all the big bucks live.
Yeah, he needs to get him about 5-10 acres and get him a little house on it and be ready to roll, dude. A little homeschool action.
You can get you 5 or 10 acres, and then we could just all build this little compound up
I don't
there.
know if Tiffany wants you to live on the same property as her. She likes you in spurts. She's like, Mike comes around a little bit, that's great, but like he can't be staying here all the time.
Yeah, we were looking at houses, and there would be like houses with like an in-law suite above the garage. I'm like, that's where Jacob can live. A little in-law suite where Jacob can grow old.
Oh, I was going to say something. I'm definitely not going to say it on the podcast. I'll have to tell you after the podcast. Not appropriate. But anyway, yeah. Other than that, appreciate everybody watching the podcast. Appreciate everybody listening to the podcast. Hopefully you found it enjoyable. If you did, go leave us a 5-star review. I guess by this point, when this episode comes out, is it this Thursday? We're going to announce the winner for the reviews.
Yes.
Okay. So hey, listen, you still got a couple days left. We're going to give away one of these lucky Blaze Orange Southern Outdoorsman hats and some stickers as well, some decals from reviews that are being left. So, again, if you enjoyed this episode, some of these other episodes, go leave us a 5-star written review on Apple Podcasts, and we'll draw that winner and announce it for Thursday's episode. So, maybe we can get that recorded after this episode drops and be ready to roll. So, appreciate y'all watching, appreciate y'all listening, and we'll catch y'all back here on the next episode from the Southern Outdoorsman Podcast. And remember, guys, y'all stay Southern.